From the studios of Atlantic Television Network in Port Harcourt, this is ATN International News. First, the headlines. Strike on Mali market kills 8. Trump releases JFK assassination document. U.S. judge blocks Trump's transgender military ban. Mexicans convicted for smuggling death of 53 migrants. Samsung company pursue deals, struggles for growth. Trump administration reinstates almost 25,000 fired workers. An army airstrike at a market in Mali's northern Timbuktu region on Sunday killed at least 18 people and injured 7, a local rights group said, while the army said it was targeting terrorists. The Collective for the Defense of the Rights of the Azawad people, which is linked to separatist Tuareg rebels, said Malian armed forces bombed a weekly market 50 kilometers north of the city of Lerneb. Mali's army said on Monday it had launched airstrikes against what it called terrorist activity in the same area cited by the rights group. It said in a statement on X that the strike has neutralized at least 11 terrorists. North Mali is rife with militant activity linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State. The Tuaregs, an ethnic group who inhabits the Sahara region, including northern Mali, are fighting for an independent homeland. They launched an insurgency against Mali's government in 2012, but the rebellion was later hijacked by Islamist groups, setting off a violent insurgency that has since spread across West Africa's Sahel region and beyond. In July last year, Tuareg rebels attacked a convoy of Malian soldiers and mercenaries of Russia's Wagner group in the far north of the country, near the town of Tinzoa 10, close to the border with Algeria. Dozens of Russian and Malian soldiers were killed in the attack, the rebels said. It is not uncommon for Mali, which has been under military rule since a 2020 coup, to carry out airstrikes on insurgent targets in the north of the country. Suspected Somali pirates have hijacked a Yemeni-flagged fishing boat off the semi-autonomous Puntland region in northeast Somalia. The European Union's anti-piracy naval force said the second of such incidents in as many months. 7 pirates boarded the vessel, which was carrying 8 Somali crew members, EU NAVFOR said in a statement on Monday. The incident is under investigation and has been classified as hijack, it said. In February, another Yemeni-flagged fishing vessel was hijacked in the same waters, the naval force said, before it was abandoned by alleged pirates. Somali pirates caused havoc in the waters off the Horn of Africa nation's long coastline between 2008 and 2018. They had been dormant until 2023 when pirate activity started to pick up again. Al-Shabaab militants targeted Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud in a bomb attack on his motorcade as it was traveling through the capital Mogadishu on Tuesday, the Islamist group said. 2 senior government and military officials told reporters that Mohamud was safe following the attack, and presidential advisor Zakaria Hussein wrote in a post on X that he was good and well on his way to the front lines. Soldiers and local residents who witnessed the attack confirmed that the president's convoy had been hit. A ETN journalist at the scene saw the bodies of 4 people killed in the assault near the presidential palace. While Al-Shabaab regularly carries out attacks in since 2014 during his first term in office, when they bombed the hotel where he was speaking. Hours after the attack on Tuesday, state media showed images of the president in the Adan Yabal district of Somalia's Middle Shabelle region, where government forces are battling a 3-week-old Al-Shabaab terror raid amid clashes and arrests. The agreement ended of that have emerged at the ongoing trial of Jocelyn Smith's mother, Kelly Smith, who has been accused of orchestrating her kidnapping. Ms. Smith, her boyfriend, Jacqueline Apollis, and their friend, Steveno Van Rijn, have pleaded not guilty to charges of human trafficking and kidnapping. Jocelyn's disappearance in February 2024 from outside her home in Saldanha Bay near Cape Town sent shockwaves across South Africa, and despite a highly publicized search for her, she is yet to be found. Ms. Smith initially said that Jocelyn, who has a fair complexion and blue-green eyes, had gone missing after she had left her in Ms. pages of unredacted records available to the public for the first time. The release of the files comes after Trump signed a day-one executive order in January aimed at fully releasing information is in them wasn't immediately clear. Historians quickly said they would need time to assess the flood of files to understand if they were significantly different from previous releases. So far, nothing in the document has changed the long-held findings that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone in assassinating Kennedy on November 22, 1963, while the then president rode in a motorcade in Dallas. Administration of U.S. President Donald Trump has removed an explicit ban on segregated facilities like waiting rooms, restaurants, and drinking fountains for federal contractors, a memo issued by the U.S. General Services Administration showed. The memo was issued last month, but media outlets took note of it on Tuesday after a report from NPR. Since taking office on January 20th, Trump has taken multiple steps and the Justice Department did not immediately reply to requests for comment. Federal jury in San Antonio, Texas, on Tuesday convicted 2 Mexican men for their roles in the smuggling death of 53 migrants packed in a truck during sweltering heat in June 2022, the Justice Department said. More than 60 migrants from Mexico, Guatemala, and Honduras were stuck in a tractor-trailer with malfunctioning air conditioning that was abandoned on the outskirts of San Antonio on June 27, 2022, a day when temperatures soared as high as 103 Fahrenheit, that which is 39.4 Celsius, I beg your pardon. 48 people were found dead. President Donald Trump's administration in court filings has, for the first time, acknowledged it fired nearly 25,000 their terminations were likely illegal. The filings made in Baltimore, Maryland, federal courts late on Monday included statements from officials at 18 agencies, all of whom said the reinstated probationary workers were being placed on administrative leave at least temporarily. The mass firings, part of Trump's conducting mass layoffs. India is resisting pleas by Bangladesh to resume issuing normal volumes of medical visas, citing staffing shortages amid worsening ties, 6 sources said, giving China rare space to expand similar offerings and build people-to-people. Interim government, led by Nobel Peace Laureate Muhammad Yunus, replaced India's long-term ally, Sheikh Hasina. Fleeing deadly protests that unseated her in August, Hasina sought refuge in New Delhi, and India has not responded since to Bangladesh's request to send her home for trial. In 2023, India issued more than 2 million visas to Bangladeshis, most of them on medical grounds, government data from both countries. China. Just this month, a group of Bangladeshis visited the southwestern province of Yunnan for treatment in a bid to explore the potential of the medical tourism market, said the Chinese ambassador Yao Wen. And at least 14 of its period when said last week. South Korea said on Wednesday it will tighten property market trading rules in wealthy parts of Seoul to stem Samsung Electronics said on Wednesday it is looking at major deals to drive growth as it faced tough questions to revive stock prices at the meeting. Samsung's co-CEO and head of its semiconductor business pledged to catch up with the high bandwidth memory HBM chip race and apologize for the company's poor stock performance. Han told investors that 2025 would be a difficult year because of uncertainties surrounding economic policies in major economies and that Samsung would pursue meaningful mergers and acquisitions to address investor concerns about growth. In internal meetings, Samsung has acknowledged it has lost ground. This is particularly true in semiconductors, where it lags SK Hynix in HBM chips that NVIDIA and others rely on for AI graphic processing units. Our technological age has been compromised across all our businesses, said the transcript for a message from Chairman G.Y. Lee given to an internal executive seminar that was seen by reporters. It's hard to see that efforts are being made to drive big innovation or tackle new challenges. There are only efforts to maintain a status quo rather than shaking things up. Oracle has signed a deal to supply Singapore's Defense Technology Agency with isolated cloud computing and AI services, marking the company's first such agreement in Southeast Asia. As part of a system disconnected from the internet and linked only to classified networks using encrypted devices. This approach is designed to protect sensitive military data from cyber threats, which are increasingly targeting Southeast Asian governments. Oracle's global defense chief, the system will include tools that analyze video streams to identify faces, license plates, and vehicle details, providing enhanced surveillance among monitoring capabilities. The financial terms of the agreement were not disclosed. Oracle has been expanding its presence in Southeast Asia. In October 2023, the company cloud region in Malaysia. Russian President Vladimir Putin agreed on Tuesday to hold, after a lengthy conversation with President Donald Trump, a first step toward easing Russia's war on Ukraine in 24 hours. Still, the Kremlin embraced the broader conversation with Trump as a signal that it was being welcomed back into the club of global superpowers, despite its years-long campaign to capture neighbors' territory, undermine democratic elections, and make common cause with U.S. foes in Beijing. Germany's parliament approved plans for a massive spending surge on Tuesday, throwing off decades of fiscal conservatism in hopes of reviving economic growth and scaling up military spending for a new era of European collective defense. The approval in the Bundestag hands conservative leader Friedrich Merz a huge boost, giving the Chancellor in waiting a windfall of hundreds of billions of euros to ramp up investment after 2 years of contraction in Europe's largest economy. Germany and other European nations have been under pressure to shore up their defenses in the face of hostile Russia and shifts in U.S. policy under President Donald Trump, which European leaders fear could leave the continent exposed. Merz's Conservatives and Social Democrats SPD, who are in talks to form a centrist coalition after last month's election, want to create a 500 billion fund for infrastructure and to ease constitutionally enshrined borrowing rules to allow higher spending on defense. Russian comedian has been arrested while trying to leave the country, told a joke about a supposed encounter with a legless beggar in the Moscow metro. Investigators owe boundaries of morality and ethics, Zaitsev said. Ostanin, in a subsequent online interview, denied the accusations and said there was not a word in the joke about the Ukraine war. But on Tuesday, investigators said in a statement that he had been arrested on suspicion of inciting hatred and debasing human dignity, an offense that carries a jail term of up to 6 years. The statement said he had been taken to Moscow for interrogation after being detained at a border crossing. Unconfirmed reports on social media said he had been trying to enter neighboring Belarus. His arrest was reported with satisfaction by several of Russia's widely read military bloggers. Police cells will temporarily be used to hold prisoners in a stopgap measure to cope with overcrowding in jails, the British government said on Tuesday. The emergency action, dubbed Operation Safeguard, allows inmates to be held in police cells when prisons are full and was previously used from February 2023 to October last year. The prison population in England and Wales has doubled in the last 30 years, according to official data, leading to overcrowding as new places have failed to keep pace with demand. Justice systems in Scotland and Northern Ireland are run separately. In a statement to Parliament, Justice Minister Shabana Mahmood said the prison system was operating at more than 99% occupancy. January saw the highest average monthly prison population growth in at least 2 years as part of a rising trend in the last 3 months that has only just begun to slow, she added. Given the recent increase in demand, it is necessary and prudent for me to temporarily reactivate Operation Safeguard to better manage the flow of offenders into the prison state, Mahmood said. According to the World Prison Brief database, imprisonment rates in England and Wales, other major European countries with 141 detainees per 100,000 population, against 120 in France, 117 in Spain, 105 in Italy, and 68 in Germany. Facebook and YouTube Instagram owner Meta Platforms said on Tuesday its independent fact-checking program in Australia would help detect and remove false content and deepfakes, as it aims to curb misinformation ahead of a national election due by May. In a blog post, the social media company said any content that could lead to imminent violence and physical harm and interfere with voting would be removed, while the distribution of misleading content through its platforms would be curtailed. Meta scrapped its U.S. fact-checking programs in January and reduced calls and discussions around contentious topics such as immigration and gender identity, bowing to pressure from conservatives to implement the biggest overhaul of its approach to managing political content on its services. Besides fake content, social media companies are also fighting to contain deepfakes, hyper-realistic videos, photographs, or other audio generated through AI algorithms that are presented as real. Meta said any deepfake content that violates its policies would be removed or rated, altered, and then ranked down in its feed to limit its distribution. Users will also be prompted to disclose when they post or share AI-generated content. Meta is facing multiple regulatory headwinds in Australia revenue they generate from sharing local news content. Meta and other social media firms must also enforce a ban for users under 16 by the end of this year, with the companies consulting the government on how they should roll the restrictions. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer spoke with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Tuesday evening, discussing progress U.S. President Donald Trump has made towards a ceasefire talks with Russia, Downing Street said. Zelensky provided an update on the frontline situation, and Starmer reiterated Britain's unwavering support, according to the statement. Earlier, PA media, citing Starmer's office, reported Britain welcomed the progress Trump has made towards a ceasefire in Ukraine and said negotiations must lead to a just and lasting pace. Russian President Vladimir Putin agreed on Tuesday to temporarily stop attacking Ukrainian energy facilities, but declined to endorse a full 30-day ceasefire. Trump hoped would be the first step toward a permanent peace deal. Ukraine said it will support the scaled-back agreements, which would require both countries to hold off on firing on each other's energy infrastructure for 30 years. I think it will be right that we will have a conversation with President Donald Trump, and we will know in detail what the Russians offered the Americans or what the Americans offered the Russians, Zelensky told reporters during an online briefing. Since Russia's full-scale 2022 invasion, the war has killed or wounded hundreds of thousands of people, displaced millions, and reduced entire towns to rubble. The pathways to progress. Coming up next is business news.